Written by u/Ritual83. I was the sole survivor of a summer camp massacre in the 80s. Tonight I go back there. This is a document of my night, tonight. I'm not sure when I'm going to post it. Maybe when I decide to leave. I have a talk-to-text app. I'll keep updating this. Apologies if anything looks weird. I have to whisper. I am standing in front of the office where I first met Gary Swift. It has been years since anyone's been here. The walls are holding up fairly well for how long this place has been abandoned, but the roof has definitely seen better days. Camp Meadowbrook has been opened and closed, refurbished and reopened and then closed again over and over since 1984. Pretty appropriate for a place that the Trenton Inquirer once dubbed Camp Death. Since I was there, they've redone the place. Several cabins have been torn down and rebuilt, or repainted to look completely different. If I remember correctly, the last time they were planning on reopening it, it wasn't going to be a summer camp at all. They had some crackpot plan to turn it into a rehabilitation facility. Thankfully there weren't any tragedies that led to that plan failing. The management company simply ran out of money and abandoned the project. Thank Christ. That's all a group of addicts need, to be stuck in the middle of the woods, surrounded by the memories of all the kids murdered here. I'm standing by the lake now. This was where I found the first body. Little Jimmy McLean, 9 years old. We thought that he had gotten caught under a fallen tree branch when he went out swimming. At the time, we had no idea about Christopher Carter, the man living in the woods. We knew nothing about him, his life up until that point, or the fact that he had been watching us for a whole week. We still don't know what made the man snap. Carter was the kind of person you would call a survivalist nowadays. I don't think we had the term back then. If we did, I didn't know it. He'd lived in those woods for almost a decade, hunting his food and staying away from people. He knew that lake very well and had clearly built up his ability to hold his breath over a long period of time. Jimmy McLean, tall for his age but hopelessly skinny, never stood a chance. I'm standing inside one of the newer buildings. It's a dorm with inbuilt bathroom and shower facilities. We didn't have those in my day. We slept in one cabin and showered in a large facility on the other side of the camp. I'm not sure if that building is still there. I'll have to check it later. I should probably explain what's happening, in case people are confused. Camp Meadowbrook is a heavily monitored area. Rangers patrol through here constantly, as do the local police department. Not right now, though. Due to the governor's stay-at-home order, half of the parks department has been furloughed and most of the cops have been assigned to the residential areas of town. There's the occasional patrol, but nothing I can avoid. I may look like an old broad, but I'm fast on my feet. I've been training for tonight since I was a teenager. I'm in the girls' dorm. Not the new one, but the one I was in. This is where I first saw him. Chris Carter. He was wearing camouflage but I could see him by the movement of his body, and from the way the moon glinted off of his black leather mask. I shrieked. My friend Kirsty tried to calm me down, but she didn't believe me when I said I saw a man in a mask walking around. She told me to go to sleep. Kirsty. I try to remember what her face looks like, but the only thing that comes to mind is the sight of her severed head, sitting on the floor of the shower. I remember Kirsty was beautiful, but I can't remember what she looked like. It's funny what age does to you. I'm at the back of the cabin. I just saw a patrol vehicle drive past. I can't tell if it was a cop or a ranger, too dark to see the markings on the car. They wouldn't help, anyway. It took more than 6 police officers to gun Carter down that night. I don't think one little squad car would make a difference. He was pronounced dead that night. After murdering 16 campers, 7 counselors and hanging Gary Swift from a tree by his own entrails. Poor Gary. He never really liked the outdoors, but running a summer camp was going to be part of the work experience program for his university. He had a bright future ahead of him in organizational studies. Carter snuffed that out, though. That tree was torn down when they decided to reopen almost 6 years later. They knocked down some cabins, cleared out a bunch of the woodland and built more cabins. Camp Meadowbrook was back in business. Less than a week later, though, he returned. The new counselors and the new campers never saw him coming. Why would they even imagine? Carter was dead. Carter wasn't dead at all. It took a swarm of cops this time, and even then he seemed to be unstoppable. They finally took him down when one desperate officer hit him with his Jeep. The controversy raged for weeks. Christopher Carter had been killed and buried in 1986, how was he back and killing again? Apparently paperwork had been fudged, Jobs had been half-assed and the wrong body had been buried in the wrong grave. Carter had walked out of Ingley Hospital's morgue with no one the wiser. I was living in California when I saw the report on the TV. I switched off my TV set and booked myself into a mental health facility. I didn't leave for 3 years. I'm standing in front of a cabin I've never seen before. I think this may have been one of the additions the third time they tried to reopen the camp. They didn't even get to opening day that time. 2 weeks before the first campers were supposed to show up, one of the cabins was torched. It burned to the ground in the middle of the night. When in the remains, the cops found a black leather mask, they assumed it was done by a local, furious about yet another attempt to reopen Camp Death, the source of so much misery and pain. I know better. I've lost so much of my life to this place that I spent less than a month in. The fear, the constant nightmares. Despite the best attempt at trying to live a normal life, I've always been haunted. The faces in the empty, dead eyes of those campers watch me from every shadow at night. I see that black, featureless leather mask from around every corner. I can't stand it. I know he's still out there. Somewhere in the woods. These woods. That's why I'm here. We both have some unfinished business. Me or you, Chris. I saw him. I saw him pass by the window just now. He knows I'm here now, and I know he is too. I think I can hear him, dragging that bullet-ridden left foot behind him. I've been waiting for this night my whole life. Planning. Training. I'm a crack shot, and he never uses guns. I'm ready, Christopher. Come and get me.